Because I don't want to say the truth. No, I don't like you enough. I don't want to spend 5 hours with you and your family.
For years, Ricky Gervais has been pulling back the curtain on Hollywood's most uncomfortable truths. On stage, in interviews, at the biggest award shows on earth, he's pointed fingers where others wouldn't dare. He's spoken the names people pretend not to know. But this time, he's claiming to have something far more explosive than words. Ricky Gervais has allegedly come forward with hidden documents, records he insists the public has a right to see. Documents that reportedly connect Ellen DeGeneres to elite power structures, the very same networks that shielded Epstein, the very same circles that buried the voices of victims. Because for a long time, Ellen's be-kind persona was armor, a carefully built image that made accusation feel impossible. But that armor may finally be cracking. So what exactly do these documents contain? And how far does Ellen's connection actually run?
You know, people found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen was actually she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared, because people found out that this character that she was portraying half an hour on a television show is not really who she was. But I had already known that. My buddy Greg was one of her writers. He was like, she's a...
For nearly 2 decades, Ellen DeGeneres was the undisputed queen of daytime television. 30 Emmy Awards. Oval Office visits. A front row seat to the biggest names in entertainment. She wasn't just hosting a talk show, she was running one of the most powerful platforms in all of Hollywood. But behind that signature dance and that infectious smile, a very different story was quietly taking shape. Hollywood has always operated on a currency more valuable than money have fame. From the unknown actor dreaming of their first Oscar nomination to the A-lister whose face appears on every billboard in Los Angeles, recognition is the lifeblood of this industry. And where there is fame, there are gatekeepers. People who sit at the top of the food chain and decide, often invisibly, who gets to rise and who gets buried. Few gatekeepers, if the allegations are to be believed, held more sway than Ellen DeGeneres herself. The whispers have grown louder in recent months. Comedian Ricky Gervais is said to have surfaced a trove of documents that paint an extraordinary picture of just how deep Ellen's influence ran, not only into the careers of rising stars, but into the inner circles of Hollywood's most untouchable elite. According to those close to the story, her reach extended far beyond a television studio in Burbank. The claim that keeps circulating in entertainment circles is as bold as it is striking, that in the world Ellen inhabited, you simply did not make it without her blessing.
Or don't be wondering why people keep saying gatekeepers. Because clearly, y'all are keeping these gates. Clear.
Numerous celebrities have spoken out about her stranglehold on Hollywood's doors, and the brutal consequences that follow once someone loses her approval. Margaret Cho stands among the most vocal, having openly described Ellen DeGeneres as cold and dismissive throughout nearly their entire shared history in entertainment. Cho recounted a relationship spanning decades, from working the same comedy club circuits in the 1980s to sitting across from Ellen on her daytime stage in the 2000s, and the experience, she says, was anything but warm. The two first crossed paths when Cho served as Ellen's opening act during her headlining club run, a connection that predated Ellen's mainstream rise by years. Yet when Cho later appeared as a guest on Ellen's talk show, something felt deeply off. Ellen greeted her as though they were complete strangers, no acknowledgement, no familiarity, nothing. Cho called it unsettling. Not awkward. Not forgetful. Unsettling, because the history between them was long, real, and impossible to have genuinely forgotten.
Ellen?
Ellen was like really weird and not nice to me for most of my career, and like, because I opened for her in the 1980s.
Oh, you did?
When she was a headliner in comedy clubs, and not way before her big fame.
Uh-huh.
And so then when I would do her talk show in the 2000s, she acted like we just met. And I'm like, what?
In the same interview, Cho opened up about a striking memory tied to rock legend David Bowie. The evening before Bowie was set to appear on Ellen's daytime show, Cho had caught his concert, dressed in what she called a Chinese emperor costume. What she didn't know until later was that Bowie had brought her up more than once backstage at Ellen's, praising the bold outfit she'd worn that night. But none of it made the final cut. Those moments of genuine admiration were quietly stripped from the broadcast, erasing what would have been a rare and warmly personal exchange.
way back.
Bitch, wait.
What? Bitch. Like, it's so creepy and weird.
Brad Garrett and Leah Thompson both came forward with sharp criticisms, suggesting that Ellen's warm public image was carefully constructed, nothing more than a performance. Garrett was blunt, the way she treated people behind closed doors was no secret. He made clear that multiple individuals in his circle had experienced her cruelty firsthand, and that this pattern had long circulated through industry whispers. Ellen's name has also surfaced in conversations surrounding Jeffrey Epstein's inner circle. A 2009 email referenced her presence at a gathering in St. Bart's. Separately, data pulled from her old talk show's social media was found among materials connected to Epstein. Former employees have painted a picture of a cold, demanding workplace environment, though none of this draws a direct line to Epstein's criminal network. What raised eyebrows further was the timing of her departure from the United States. In October 2024, just 3 months before the Epstein files became public, Ellen quietly sold her California estate and settled into a $15 million property nestled in the Cotswolds, England. Commentators like Joe Rogan and Tim Dillon didn't hold back, framing the move as a calculated exit, a way to put distance between herself and whatever the files might surface. Some pointed to Trump's election as a possible motivation, though the proximity to the document release kept speculation alive. The couple later walked back their relocation, with Ellen and Portia de Rossi citing cold winters and distance from friends as their reasons for returning to California. Her name does appear in the Epstein documents, publicly available through the Department of Justice's Epstein Library. But legal analysts are careful to note, appearance is not evidence. The files reference over 300 prominent figures, among them Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, James Comey, and Oprah Winfrey. Embedded throughout are recurring terms, pizza, grape soda, beef jerky, which investigators and legislators believe functioned as coded references to criminal activity. Fact-checkers, however, have clarified that Ellen's mentions exist solely within archived news clippings, carrying no implication of direct criminal involvement. Yet perhaps the most telling window into Ellen's influence came through in Hetchy. Before her tragic death, Hetchy disclosed that entering a romantic relationship with Ellen effectively ended her career. In a 2021 interview with Page Six, she reflected on how that relationship transformed her into an early target of industry exile, describing herself as a kind of ground zero for what the world would later come to call cancel culture. This wasn't something that lasted years, Anne said. This was a single moment where I was handed the rare honor of rising up for everything I've believed in, beliefs I've carried since I was just a child. And grabbed headlines at the 1997 Volcano premiere when she walked the red carpet with Ellen DeGeneres on her arm.
I am here with Ellen DeGeneres, nominee and Hayes presenter. How are you this evening? Lovely, thank you. Hi, Mom. Did I sleep at that? Hi. No, she's only there. Yeah, right there. God, we don't know where to look, and you think we're... How are you, Dad?
A $10 million film contract was ripped away from me, and I vanished completely from the studio system after that. Before the scandal broke, Hetchy had already been circling a major studio project, the high-budget romantic comedy 6 Days, 7 Nights, set to star opposite Harrison Ford. She told Page Six that the moment her relationship with DeGeneres went public, the studio's interest visibly cooled. Word came back that the role was no longer hers. Then one morning, while she was at home with DeGeneres, the phone rang, and it was Ford himself, carrying a message that would change everything. He said, "Honestly, sweetheart, I couldn't care less about your personal life." She said, "We have a love story to tell. Let's make it the greatest one ever told." That is exactly why Harrison Ford holds a place in my heart. She went on, to stand by my side in that moment, when everything I was fighting for could have crumbled beneath the weight of it all. But here's what nobody talks about: while Anne's career quietly collapsed after their relationship, Ellen's star kept rising without missing a beat. A strange coincidence? Or was Ellen pulling strings behind the scenes, shielding her own reputation while Anne absorbed all the damage alone?
Rumors Ellen was far from nice were out there for years. What was your reaction to the toxic workplace controversy?
I felt that it was in the hands of the people who needed to speak their truth. I hadn't spoken to Ellen in years, and I feel that the stories that need to be listened to are being told.
Did the stuff about her being emotionally abusive to her staff ring true to you?
Emotionally abusive is a container for our actions that we've not healed. And unfortunately, the abusive environment was something that I understood.
I came across that clip where Ellen brings up not being invited to Dakota Johnson's birthday, right to her face, on camera. The tension in that moment is something else. Passive-aggressive doesn't even begin to cover it. Years back, Howard Stern publicly exposed what she was really doing. She'd taken dogs, play the loving rescuer, then quietly return them weeks later, and she repeated that cycle more than once. Then she'd sit on her show with tears in her eyes, somehow framing herself as the one who suffered. She's always had this side to her, but for reasons nobody can actually explain, the world keeps giving her a free pass. Everyone who's ever worked on that show knows exactly who she really is behind closed doors. Someone I know personally witnessed how badly she treated Portia, and what they saw left them speechless. So, all of this leaves you with one burning question: how many names are on that list? How many futures were quietly crushed? How many voices were buried before they ever had a chance to speak? And the question no one wants to answer: was Ellen DeGeneres the one holding the door? The one who decided whose star rose and whose flame went out? Hetchy's world collapsed. Ellen's empire expanded. Draw your own conclusions. Margaret Cho was treated like an outsider. Brad Garrett called the mistreatment an open secret. Leah Thompson confirmed it. And Hetchy was erased from the industry, and Ricky Gervais has now surfaced documents that can't be ignored. The walls are closing in. One file at a time. One witness at a time. And Ellen DeGeneres can no longer shelter herself behind that carefully crafted smile. Drop your thoughts below. Do you believe in Hetchy was deliberately pushed out? Was Ellen the one pulling the strings from behind closed doors? And who do you think gets exposed next?